good morning. How are you? Thank you. I appreciate it, particularly the extra clap I got some. Yeah, that's perfect. I appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you today. I'd like to just turn your attention to a passage of Scripture. Now we've blocked you guys, haven't we? Can you see the screen all right? I hope so. This quick reference to 2 Kings. O Lord, open his eyes so that he may see. Do you know what it is that's happening in this passage? Maybe you do. Shortly before this is mentioned, in fact, few days before, in fact, in Israel, there had been some kind of guerrilla warfare going on, dabbling around the edges of the nation. In fact, you probably know the story of Naaman and the little girl who encouraged him to go to Israel to be healed and seek help from the prophet. Well, she was, in fact, stolen from a town bordering on the edges of Israel. And the neighboring country that was at war with Israel, instead of just full-on attack, they would send these raiding parties out, and if you were just wandering a little too far from home, or if it seemed like you could be tormented or tortured or stolen or enslaved, or maybe they would just burn some of your property down, something like this. And so it was just very aggravating, not full-on war, but guerrilla warfare that was taking place. And in fact, there came a time when Elisha the prophet began to see, because of what God was showing him, see what it was that the king was planning of the neighboring country. And so he would send out messages, hey, don't do this, please be here, this is what God says is going to be happening, till finally this king brings all of his most close advisors around him and says, hey, look, wait, the deal is that somebody here is a traitor. It's just got to be. Somebody here is a traitor. And so I want you to just fess up. Now, I don't know who would go for that appeal, because, I mean, you're dead if you fess up. Yeah, I've been telling them all, yeah, no problem. But in fact, somebody does speak up courageously and says, here's what the situation is. The situation is they have a prophet, maybe you remember Naaman, they have a prophet who sees everything you're planning and can hear even in your bedchamber. And so, by the way, that was a gutsy move, because I would think this might not be entirely believable by the king, but maybe because of what had happened to Naaman. He does believe that this is what is going on. And so he says, I tell you what, let's do then. Let's go and we'll capture this prophet. Which, if I were the guy who had just given him this little piece of advice, I would have probably, felt like, maybe you didn't hear me correctly. He hears and sees everything you're saying and doing right now, But they go. And they surround, an incursion with military force into Israel. They surround the hilltop where Elisha the prophet is residing. And in the morning, I don't know how many of you are night people? Anybody here a night person? I'm a bit of a night person, not necessarily full-on morning person. I wake up, it takes a little bit to wake up. And so I don't know if this was the case for this young man that was serving in the household of Elisha. As he comes to the door, and he opens the door, maybe he's a morning person, throws open the door, maybe he's like you or me, and is just kind of rubbing the eyes and what? They are surrounded by enemy. He is panicked. He goes to Elisha and he says, I don't know what to say, but in the nighttime, something has changed. You got to come see. And here comes Elisha to the doorway, looks out and sees that they are surrounded, but then puts a calming hand on the shoulder of this young man and says, not to the young man, but to God, open his eyes that he can see. And you know the story. What does he see? Yes, they are surrounded. And yes, the enemy is out there, but between the enemy and the house, he can see now angels ringing the perimeter. And he can see the forces of God there to protect. And he can see what others haven't been able to see. What he had not been able to see. And right now, I just want to invite you to bow your head. And we're going to spend a few moments talking about leadership and what we see. And I would like to ask God for the miraculous presence of the Holy Spirit to help us be able to see something we otherwise maybe could have missed. So would you bow your head with me? Father, thank you for your love. I thank you for Andrews Academy, for these students, for this day of opportunity. And I pray that as we spend some time talking, that you would help us to see more than we would naturally see. Help us feel your presence. As we talk about leadership, maybe somebody here really needs most to feel your healing presence of forgiveness. Maybe someone here needs even more than some topical conversation about leadership to hear your invitation to be whole and one and real with you. Whatever you need to do at this time, do it. Help us to see more than we otherwise might have. In Jesus we pray. Amen. All right, so how many of you would say about yourselves that you're pretty observant? Anybody here, they're pretty observant? Is anybody willing to admit, frankly, I'm not terribly, I miss stuff, a lot of stuff all the time, yeah? How many of you struggle with this? So there are 2, 3, 4 of you that were actually brave enough to say, yeah, man, I miss stuff all the time. How many of you have difficulty remembering names? Anybody? Well, okay, so that kind of tends to be along some of the same lines. I have found that we think we're a little bit more observant than we actually are. So I'd like to try something. You know what? I almost wonder if we would this be able to be lifted and just put right straight down on the floor? We'll try that. Because I'm concerned that maybe we're blocking some people. Maybe we're only picking who we're blocking. I don't know. I could be helpful, couldn't I? There we go. All right. So let's try this. I have a little experiment to try with you. If you have ever seen some of this, then I apologize. It's your opportunity to look brilliant. Don't let anybody know that you've seen this. You just know things, okay? And that'll be wonderful for you. But what we're going to do, how many of you realize that that they do a lot of studies and they also employ people? You can get a job just paying attention to how things are set up for movies. What I mean is, often movies are shot out of order, right? They don't go just in chronological order. And so they may have like a plate and a sandwich and a guy's in a blue shirt and then they go to Italy and they shoot a number of scenes. They come back and they do stuff again in that same location where they have the sandwich and the plate and so on, right? And so they hire people just to pay attention and take a look at the clips and make sure that they don't have something wrong. And in fact, there are whole websites and blogs and stuff dedicated to spotting mistakes. Wait, that was in, when they cut away the first time, that was in their right hand. Now it's in their left hand. How did that work? Right? So there are studies that have to do with whether we naturally are able to easily pay attention to stuff like this. And so I'd like to show you one, and let's see how you do with this. I'm going to put the microphone somewhere near, I think, my speakers. And so you might be able to hear this. You may have to just, juice this up a little bit. But here we go. Let's try this. So pay attention. You're going to see a scene, and you're going to be asked to pay attention and notice what may change. Alright, so this isn't one that, hello, are you? Alright, there we go. This was not one that had sound, but it will in a minute, so I'm going to ask what you noticed, yeah?
When he got up from his desk, his shirt was unbuttoned. When he answered the phone, his shirt was buttoned.
How many of you saw the unbuttoned shirt became buttoned? Yep, good, good. Anybody have something you noticed in this area? Yeah. Don't worry, it'll be okay, we'll get you. I'm sorry?
2 different people?
2 different people? Yes or no? No. Yeah, go ahead.
His jacket was on when he got up and we answered the phone.
Jacket was on when he got up, answered the phone? Yeah?
I think his watch strap was different color.
Watch strap, different color. This color wasn't great, so that wasn't helpful, huh? Anybody else? Which, by the way, I didn't mean to tell you that actually you were incorrect. I was just repeating that you guys said no. I just for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to take another quick look here to see. Yeah, in fact, wait, hold on. Let's see if we can see this one more time. Make sure this is working. Yeah, there we go. So here you have a guy. It does have glasses, hair part on the right, sweats, shirt unbuttoned. Different guy, hair part on the left. So it is kind of interesting because we watched it, and in fact, someone noticed. Most everybody would have argued you're not correct about that, but he was correct. So you get the sense of what we're dealing with. Check this study out. It's something called the door study. Again, maybe I'll just kind of talk our way through this study. Essentially, what you have here, and this is an old study. This is on a college campus where you have a person with a map out in the middle of campus looking for directions from passers-by. And in this video, what you're going to see is the pedestrians that help, they're actually professors. They're bright people. And there's more than one of them, even, trying to help this guy. So the guy with the paper, he's a part of the study. The other two are trying to give him directions. He's got a map of campus. And as he stands there, along come two people carrying a door. He switches and they continue to help. It's not just one person, it's two people. Didn't notice that this guy's I'm told in the research, this guy's jacket is a different color, he's a different height, completely different person, and they just go on. And in this study, about 50% of the time, people didn't notice that you're changing people and everything, right? So again, let's make some bold statements here, one way or the other. If you leave your hand down, you're saying no. If you raise your hand, you're saying yes. There's no in between. There's no kind of, I just don't have energy in front of that. Okay? So, do you think you would have noticed the person changing? I'm going to say that we are probably just over 50% say yes, I would. Well, then and again, if you have done this next contest, don't let on to anybody else. Don't be making noises that give away. But we're going to do something called an attention awareness test. Okay? So you get to actually do it. It's not the exact same as if you were the one out there and two guys with a door went between you. It's not exactly the same. It's just on the screen, but it's not a difficult task. Okay? What's going to happen here is what you're going to see, and again, if you've seen this, it's okay. See if you can actually come up with the right number. There will be 6 people on the screen. There will be 2 teams, one in black shirts, one in white shirts. There will be 2 basketballs. Each team will have 1 basketball. So the white-shirted individuals will have a basketball. The black-shirted individuals will have a basketball. What you're trying to do is come up with the number of times people in white pass the basketball. So count in your head, not out loud. So it's always the people counting out loud that are wrong, by the way. So count in your head, see if you come up with the right number of times the white team passes the basketball. Those in the black will be passing also, but you're to count how many times those on the team wearing white pass the basketball. All right? All right, so how many passes?
16.
All right. We'll do it this way. I will start at, say, 11. And I'll count up. Raise your hand if I say the number you think it was, okay? So 11. Okay, a couple. 12. Nice. 13. Gaining momentum. 14. All right. 15. 16. 17. Do we have anybody with 32? Just wondering. All right, of course, the important question is, did you see the gorilla? Yes. Some of you did. Some of you are going, huh? And then there's a third category of you. The third category of you is going, I don't know what he's talking about. But I'm not going to make it known to anyone around. Some of you noticed giggling and wondered why. I mean, you know, goodness, passing the basketball. What's so funny about that? Something happened over in that corner. All right, well, let's take another quick look at it. All right, so basketballs pass back and forth.
So how many times did basketball?
All right, so here's what we know. By the way,
How many times did basketball?
how many times the basketball? I don't know. It's 15 or 16. I can't remember.
I gotta know.
You gotta know?
Yeah.
I'll be able to tell you in a minute.
16.
There's something that'll be a clue to me. I'll be able to tell you in a minute. But here's the interesting reality. And by the way, just as a little side note, I have 3 kids ranging from 14 to 21 years of age, and some of them, I won't point out who, some of them suggest to me they study better, for instance, with music or with other. Here's the honest truth, and research bears this out. You do not study better with other things going on at the same time. You might be happier while those other things are going on. Study at, say, 70% capacity, and because you're happier, it's cool with you to spend another 30% longer to actually be prepared, and that may be okay. But you don't actually study better. In fact, the idea of multitasking is a myth. What we actually do is what's called fast tasking, right? It's like doing something with your right hand here, but then quick switch over and do something with your right hand there. So you're doing this, right? And some of us get really good at that, but we're not doing all those things at the exact same time. So what happens is, you're looking at the screen and you're zoning in and you're being really careful, and it dawns on you there are S's on the wall. I don't know why that is, but maybe that's a trick. So I'm counting basketballs, counting, and we zone everything else out to concentrate. And the truth is, it is very difficult for us to pay attention to a multiple amount of things at the same time. It is a myth that we do so really, really well. Some of you have heard of this test or seen this test and so on. And by the way, about 50% of the time, people will in fact see the gorilla. So some of you who've never seen this saw it. Well, here's the interesting thing. You might be now distracted by the gorilla. I'm going to show you a slightly different version of this, and you may have seen this, that's fine. But I'm going to show you a slightly different, though similar version of this. And again now, by the way, did you notice a lot of us got the number wrong, no matter what the number was. A lot of us had different opinions from one another just in how many passes there were. So it could even be that some of us who have seen the gorilla were distracted by the gorilla and couldn't see the basketball. Now, so see if you can do both. Okay? See if you can make this work. This is a little bit more colorized version. And we'll give this a go. You do all right with that? 16? You spot the gorilla? All right. Again, people who haven't seen or heard about the video like this before, about half missed the gorilla. If you knew about the gorilla, you probably saw it, but did you notice the curtain change color? When the player on the black team leaves the game. So you see there's a black player missing now. When you're looking for a gorilla, you often miss other unexpected events. And that's the monkey business. What we find is interesting, and it's probable that a good number of you have seen this, and that's fine. By the way, 15 the first time.
Okay, I stopped.
Sometimes I forget, because one is 15 and one is 16, and the second one is 16, and the first one is 15. Here's what's true. There's a lot going on around us.
There's no hope.
Have you noticed, for instance, that culturally, your age group is able to keep track of certain things that you feel older people don't notice? Maybe, do you know what a mosquito tone is? Right? I kind of, you know, if you're older, you kind of want to be young, and you kind of want to be able to hear this thing, and so you start maybe hearing something, but I don't know that I'm actually accurate about that. Whereas younger people, no, really, can you not hear that? Yes, I can. I think, maybe. Well, it's true that there are things going on all around us that we miss all the time, and boy, we could camp here and talk about this on a spiritual level, for sure. I want to talk about it with regard to leadership. Somebody tell me, raise a hand and I'll call on you. Somebody tell me your version of definition. What is leadership? Huh? Explain to me, leadership is what? What is leadership? Somebody? I see a hand. Yes? Did you mean that? Yeah?
Being able to guide a group of people.
Being able to guide a group of people? And what?
I guess you standing out more than others.
Okay, you standing out more than others guiding people? Yeah. Being responsible for fill in the blank? Is that what you're saying? Okay, so it's always good if we can stay away from using the word we're defining in the definition, but being responsible for the activities that you're responsible. Yeah.
Setting a standard for the group that you're in charge of.
Setting a standard for the group that you're in charge of. Anybody else I saw? Yeah. A position of command? Yeah, one more.
Leadership is the relationship between a leader and their followers.
The relationship between a leader and their followers. Again, anytime we use the word or a root of the word in the definition, it just kind of allows for a good deal more confusion. But you're onto some good notions here. I'd like to try an experiment. I'd like to try an experiment to demonstrate something about leadership. And for this, I need one volunteer. Back in the back is the first hand that I saw go up. That's awesome. You just the mere standing up, they applauded. You've been able to stand for how long now? No, anyway. All right, so your name? Andrew. Very good. Andrew, I tell you what, would you mind going with Pastor Glassford, if you don't mind going out of the room, and can you shut the doors so that if he's just outside there, he cannot hear what we're saying? Oh, that way. Okay. Very nice. Next thing you know, they're at Apple Valley getting a, naked juice or something. Very nice. Okay. All right. So, in a second, would you mind, be ready, would you mind going and getting them in a second? Here's what we're going to do. What I'd like to do is I would like to pick a task for Andrew to accomplish. Something that's not a problem. What? Somebody had something?
Yeah, move the chair.
Chair.
Yeah,
Move. What do you have? A somersault.
kiss the woman.
Play the piano? Alright. How about this? How about this? Is the piano, we'll lift this. Here's what we'll have him do. What we'll have him do is we're going to actually guide him, direct him to the back of the room first. I'm going to ask him to go and stand in the back of the room, and I'll do that with my words. But then from then on, we're not going to use words at all. Please trust that Andrew is capable of doing this thing, and let's not have words direct him. What we'll do instead is we're going to use clapping, sounds of positive affirmation, cheering, that kind of thing, if he's doing the right things, and we can use booing. I know it's always a little bit scary how much students like to use the booing. So I know some of you have it pent up over the years. Just be gentle. So again, first point, we're not going to actually use words. We're not going to tell him anything about what he is supposed to do. We're just going to offer that we are going to help him do it, okay? But as he moves, let's have him do this. He'll be back there by this door. We'll have him come up here, and instead of going up those steps, we don't want him to do that. We want him to go across here, and he'll come up these steps. He will come over, and we'll get him to sit down and play any note on the piano at all. Okay? That would be accomplishing the task. Now, a couple of things about this. Point one, I've noticed, there's always somebody who thinks this is a perfect time to create a humorous moment for themselves and try to boo or applaud awkwardly in the wrong moment. Try to resist that. I know, it's very difficult, but try to resist that. Instead, we're going to actually, as long as he's doing the right things, we're going to applaud him forward. If he gets all the way over here, let it build, by the way. Don't go crazy nuts when he takes his first step. Because otherwise, you've got to leave yourself some room to make this happen, right? So as he gets over here, comes up here, building, gets over by the piano, we can start going crazy. If he turns away, right? It gets back over here, and we're just to our feet cheering if he plays a note, okay? All right, do you mind actually going and getting them? So again, when they're in the room, I'll give some words of instruction, and by the way, fight this thing too. No. We're not those kind of indicators. Andrew, welcome back. Hope that was a good time. Would you mind going back by the door back there? The one with the unlit exit light?
Damn, I never noticed that.
I don't know that they're supposed to be lit, but anyway. Okay. Very good, right there. Very good, perfect. Andrew, here's what's happening right now. We have selected a task for you to accomplish. The task is in this room, and we believe you're capable of accomplishing it. I feel strongly about that. You seem bright. No pressure. But here are a couple of things about it. Number one, we will help you accomplish the task. Number two, we are not going to tell you what the task is. Okay? But we will help you. Even if it feels like it at one moment or another that we aren't all that helpful, we will help you, and we won't stop until you've accomplished the task. Okay? So far, so good? Would you like a hint? Okay, that seemed more or less like, I don't know, but maybe yes. Here's the hint. When in doubt, do something. I have noticed that doing nothing is never the task we pick. Okay? So, when in doubt, move around, do something. All right, you ready? Go. some were really anxious to get a last boo in there. And just thank you very much. It's always fascinating to me how the mind works. And so the moment here of, okay, not there, not there, not there, I'll undress. Whatever could it be? Oh. Nice job, Andrew. Nice job. Well done. Now. Okay, quick question. Quick question. Here's my question for you. I'm looking for the clock. You can kind of almost see that.
15.
Okay. Quick question for you. If we were to have webcast this with no sound, who would be the star of the show?
Andrew.
Okay, yeah. Just if you have trouble with this, actually put yourself in front of a, computer screen watching this thing happen. All kinds of applauding, things going on, and Andrew wandering around the room. Who would be the star? Andrew would be. What was the task, by the way? Andrew, what was the task? See, here's the interesting thing. He accomplished the task without even knowing what the task specifically was. Maybe he didn't even do it. I thought you did. Did you actually play a note on the piano? Oh, your hands went up there. So he didn't even accomplish the task. So, of course, you are permitted to boo Andrew all day long. No. See, because here's the truth of it. This task had very little to do with Andrew's intentions. Right? If he had played a note, and I'd say, okay, so who accomplished this task? Our gut reaction would be, of course, to say, well, Andrew accomplished this task. But Andrew could have accomplished the task and not even known. I mean, there's a pick here involved, and who is that? Is that Principal Overstreet? I don't know what that is, but he could have done it without even carrying it on. Really, his big priority was to get you not to boo and have you applaud, and really, sooner or later, it's about, let me get done with this. We were the ones who had the intention of what he might do. And we were the ones guiding him around the room. What I want to suggest to you is, we miss something big that our eyes need to be opened to on the subject of leadership because of how people talk about it and how it's modeled around us all the time. But there's an ever-growing conversation, and it's this. Leadership, though we might talk about it based on who holds the office, who has a certain title, who stands up and talks to most people at a time, all those kinds of things end up getting our attention. Leader. But in truth, leadership is about individual moments of influence. Where because you stepped up, because you applauded, or because you booed, or because you said this, or because you wore that, or you get to change what happens next. And you can do this completely accidentally, without any intentionality. You can decide you aren't a leader, and so you downplay it. The truth is, you're going to lead anyway. The question is not whether or not you are a leader. The question is, are you making the most of the opportunities you have to lead? And research suggests to us that every human being on the planet today will have at least 4 moments of significant influence with another person. At least 4. Every day. So it's not about whether you are a leader. Do you know what to do? Are you taking this responsibility seriously? Are your eyes open to the incredible power that you have? The incredible opportunity. Isn't this the call of the gospel? The commission that God gave us was to go and change the world, to influence the world for His kingdom. You have this opportunity daily. So it's not about whether you are or are not a leader. That's really kind of an inconsequential question. It's whether or not you can deliver in the moments that you have. And so it's not just influence, it is intentionality. So I'm going to give you 3 words by the time I'm done here. Influence is at its core. Leadership is influence. Those moments when you have the opportunity to change what happens, to direct whether somebody's, no, keep your sweatshirt on, or whatever. And by the way, it's going to happen today in classes, isn't it? It's going to happen today at home. It's going to happen today in your relationships. For some of you, it's going to happen today through some abbreviated words you text. It's going to happen through all of the venues of relationship that you have. You have the opportunity to influence. Because you are here, everything could change. And it's up to you to take that responsibility seriously and be intentional about it. Think of it this way. One of my favorite quotes is one by Abraham Lincoln. Arguably, how could you suggest he wasn't a great leader? I don't know what would have happened to our country. Maybe, in fact, I see the history professor walking through the door here. I'm not sure if we would have a United States or if there'd be North states and South states and West states and I don't know what all else we would have. Whether slavery in some form might still exist. I just don't know. It would be hard to argue that Abraham Lincoln was not a leader. I love this quote, though. Abraham Lincoln is supposed to have said, "Everything I am or ever hope to be, I owe to my angel mother." And if you do a little bit of research, what you'll find is Abraham Lincoln, at the age of 9, his mother Nancy died. Okay, I don't know what is Heimlich involved. Well, that's a tough thing, and in some regards, because of being worried about the family, Abraham Lincoln's father remarried within that same year a woman named Sarah Lincoln then. Well, that can go either way for a 9-year-old boy. To suddenly have your mother die and then also have a new mother. Apparently, Abraham Lincoln became extraordinarily fond of his mother, Sarah Lincoln. Ever after calling her, apparently, his angel mother, as if sent by God. So, okay, wait a minute. Abraham Lincoln is saying, if you want to give me any credit for holding the Union together, if you want to give me any credit for the abolition of slavery, if you want to give me any credit for the different kinds of leadership moves I made, just know this, everything I am, everything I ever hope to be, I owe to my angel mother. Give the credit to her. Don't give it to me. Give it to her. We don't know of any quote that she is supposed to have said. She, as far as I know, didn't write a book. I don't know that she landed on anybody else's list of top 10 leaders in the world. But what if, without Sarah Lincoln, we don't have Abraham Lincoln? And by the way, he's not saying genetics, I wouldn't have been born. This is his stepmother. He's saying the relationship and her influence. And so, this is one of the things that drives me in the work that I do. I don't spend any energy trying to decide whether you're going to be pointed at as a leader by the masses. I don't care. You're going to have leadership opportunities every day. And in fact, if I were to neglect training the next Sarah Lincoln so that we don't have the next Abraham Lincoln, I think I should be held accountable for that. I think it would be better to teach leadership kind of indiscriminately, because we're not great at keeping score of whether this one moment changing everything outweighs or is lesser than this moment of publicly acclaimed leadership, right? So far these two words, leadership, influence. In the moment, do you make a difference? Do you acknowledge? Can you see the opportunity? Are you intentional about it? Do you take responsibility for it? I must tell you, I'm an outsider to your school, so I can say stuff, wander off, and I'm fine. You guys have to live with it, kind of. But at every school I've ever been at, there are things that we wish were different. Students will talk about things that they wish were different. And I would have to ask you, what are you doing about it? You do realize you have influence. And you can be constructive. At Andrews University, if there's something that's going on there that I think isn't right, the question appropriately is, what am I doing about it? Because I have influence. You have power. And you can learn and practice how to spend that power and grow your influence and be intentional about it. And here's the good news. The good news is this third word that I want to add to it. The word individualized. Here's the great news. Sometimes when we talk about leaders, we think of certain individuals, we think of certain kinds of positions, and then we figure, okay, well, so that's the statue of what leadership looks like. So if you're going to be a leader, what's your name? You came up, Jordan? Came up, did an announcement, so okay, Jordan's going to be a leader. Now, you just got to keep looking at that statue. This is what leadership is. Try to get in the shape of that statue. Maybe Jordan looks pretty good. But what's your name? Maybe Carla struggles to get into that exact shape and size and look and everything about that. And so we end up mimicking a statue a little bit. What if that's not what God's call is to you? What if God is saying, I make you uniquely. You give your heart to me and I give you unique spiritual gifts. I give you unique calling. And I have some things that I need to have done in this world that only you can do. And if you spend your energy trying to get in the shape of a statue of somebody you are not, first of all, you will be a knockoff version of them and not very good at it. Second of all, the unique you that I've called you to be disappears. And the things that only you could have done and been on this planet for God's cause drift away. I love this quote I'll share with you. I have been a youth director and a pastor, and I've worked at a boarding academy, and I've been on academy boards, and every once in a while, I have a little bit of a streak of liking to provoke people by asking questions. And so I remember bringing this quote up. It's the work of true education to develop this power to train the youth to be thinkers and not mere reflectors of other men's thoughts. That first sentence there. Or to train our young people to be thinkers and not mere reflectors of other men's thoughts. Now, boarding academy, get this. In a boarding academy, in the boarding academy that I was in, there's everything ranging from certain sidewalks that only guys could be on or only girls could be on. There were times of day that you could not be in jeans. There were times of day that you had to be in a tie or you had to be in a dress. There were times, of course, in the dormitory, there'd be a point where the lights would just go out and there'd be all kinds of... And so I would love to ask the question, well, how are we training our young people to be thinkers and not mere reflectors of other men's thoughts? Do they have room to think for themselves? And this was an interesting challenge. So it's kind of provocative and it's nice to kind of pester people with. One day, I was reading this passage again, and it stopped me a little bit because the first part of the sentence is the work of true education to develop this power. Anybody carefully looking at this able to tell me what is this power? Develop this power. Can you figure it out? Can you tell? Yeah, what do you think?
The mind.
The power of the mind. Okay, fair. Yeah? Leadership. Good guess. Good guess. Figuring probably that's why I would have brought it up, maybe. I don't know. Anybody else? What is this power? Well, if you're hesitant, that's a safe way to be. The truth is, this is the second half of a paragraph, and as you probably know, you do well, whether it's Ellen White's writings or scripture or a piece of research you're looking at or history or whatever, to try to read something in its fullness and not just kind of pluck stuff out of context and just grab it as its own single sentence, because we get misled by things like this. Actually, this power is referenced earlier in this same thing. Every human being created in the image of God is endowed with a power akin to that of the Creator. Individuality. Power to think and to do. And then the men, and I think she would say the women in whom this power is developed are the men and women who bear responsibilities, who are leaders in enterprise, and who influence character. So what is the power? Individuality. I will tell you that we spend a lot of our energy trying to make sure that we know what the target is that we're going for, that we can make good decisions, that we have strong character. I'm going to suggest to you that a huge deal, can you imagine, it is being in the image of the Creator is to be in nobody else's image. Isn't that awesome? So it is not God's call on your life to mimic somebody that's a leader. God's call on your life is to explore, develop, and come to grips with who you are uniquely as a leader. That nobody else could be. Could it be possible that if you don't live the life God is calling to you, nobody else can make up for that? And there's a piece of influence and leadership in this world that disappears. Well, I'll end with this. Okay, I will close with this. I have spent time teaching leadership to high school students, to undergraduate students. It is my thought, it is my belief that leadership is something you can get and understand right now. You can experiment with right now. Some say practice makes perfect. Others might say practice makes permanent. And if you are practicing a level of ignorance right now about your leadership capacity, that's something that could be a problem later, and you'll wait for other people to be the influence you should have been. You should be engaging in all those leadership activities that you can now. It's not that it's that hard, it's just that incredibly important, and timing matters. This is the time to start engaging in leadership. So here's the last little story. How many of you like pumpkin pie? Do you like pumpkin pie? I'm one of those people who seasonally like pumpkin pie. Do you know what I mean? You understand what I mean? Pumpkin pie, I can just, whatever. But come about Thanksgiving, that period between Thanksgiving and maybe New Year's, pumpkin pie really kind of, it rises in my appreciation. I was in graduate school. I was married, my wife and I, and we had another couple that were married that were friends of ours. And we were invited to this elderly woman's house for a Sabbath lunch when we were here in the community those many years ago. And as we sat down, ate such, just wonderful meal. It was an awesome thing when you're a young couple to be taken in like this. And as the regular portion of the meal finished, out came a pumpkin pie. It was gorgeous. It was wonderful looking. And so she began to kind of carve it up into pieces, and I said, yes, I'll have a large piece. Yes, ma'am, I will. And so there the pieces were all kind of scattered. She realized that there was something, I think maybe whipped cream for the top, that she had forgotten, and so she got up and said, okay, you just guys get started. Please don't wait. Get started. I'm going to go and get this. So she gets up and goes around. Her piece is sitting there by her plate, unattended. The rest of us, she said we should get started. I don't want to offend her, so, on we go. And kind of universally, we each took the tip of that pie, cut it off, put it on a fork, put it in our mouths, and began to chew it. Have you had some moment where the information coming to your brain does not make sense? It just doesn't. But you're looking around and you can tell you're getting the same data that I am. It was awful. I mean horrific. Have you ever had some bit of food in your mouth that as you chew it, it seems like it's expanding? And it can't get it swallowed down, and it was just getting more and more in there. I think And so now I finally got this down, and everybody else has got this look on their face. What do I do? So we kind of were poking at the pie and waiting for her to return. We're wondering, is this the way it's supposed to be? She came back, sat down, not looking at us too much, quickly took a piece of the pie, put it in her mouth, started to chew it. Look came over her face. She tipped her head back and began to laugh loudly. She had forgotten to put sugar in the pumpkin pie. If you want to mess with somebody, make what otherwise looks like a beautiful pumpkin pie with no sugar in it. I'm telling you, it is marginally, almost completely unswallowable. I mean, you could mortar, the wall. It was awful. So now we're joking, the tension is gone. She brings out this big thing of sugar, and I'm taking my fork and I'm making like furrows and rows in the thing. We're pouring sugar down, trying to get it in there. I am telling you, there is nothing that can be done. You can put 3 times the amount of sugar encasing that, but it cannot work. It's awful. Now, would it have been rocket science to put the sugar in at the right time? No. But if you miss the moment, it is extraordinarily difficult. It's not that it's that hard. It's just excruciatingly important. And this is what I believe about you developing as a leader today. You should seek out all the opportunities you can to explore and experiment in your leadership life. If there's anything I can do to be helpful, I would love that. Let me pray with you and send you on. Father, thank you for this school, for these students, for your love. Thank you for not asking us to simply be observers and bystanders to this story of yours, but inviting us all the way in as significant contributors, unbelievably so, and not just at some older age, now, today. Would you guide these young leaders to grow, to experiment, to not take casually the incredible giftedness that they have in their ability to influence? If you would do this, we would give you the glory. Thank you. We love you. Amen. Thanks for your time.